In the life of every Catholic, there comes a moment when we are standing on the edge. In front of us, we have the very long drop of sin and vice. We never want to fall down into the darkness of sin and vice, of despair. But the real problems come when it seems like everyone is trying to push us off. Temptations are inviting us to get ever closer to the edge, and the slightest wind, the slightest push could make us fall. The same thing happened to Jesus. Jesus, when he started his public ministry, he went back to his hometown in Nazareth and entered the synagogue to preach. Jesus got up to the front of the synagogue, and quoting scripture, he said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has sent me to bring good news to the poor, proclaim liberty to the captives, and to the blind, new sight." As everyone heard these familiar words, they agreed with him. They thought this was great. Look at Jesus, how he quotes scripture. They all nodded their heads in agreement. But then, Jesus closed the scroll. He looked at everyone. All eyes were upon him. And he said, "Today, this scripture is being fulfilled in your presence." Jesus was not afraid. He continued and he told them, whenever a prophet came inspired by God to lead the people to a new spiritual path, they were rejected by their own family and friends. Those prophets went elsewhere, and their message was received by the pagans. The same thing is happening in my hometown. As soon as Jesus said this, there was an uproar in the temple. Everyone stood up, and suddenly, in all the commotion, someone shouted, "Let's push him off the cliff!" And immediately, they led him to the cliff. They arrived to the edge. They formed a semicircle around him, and Jesus was facing the abyss. Jesus was standing on the edge. But even in that moment, in that crucial moment, Jesus knew that the Spirit of the Lord was still upon him. He knew that the Father's will must be done. In the life of every Catholic, there comes a moment when we are standing on the edge. The world wanting to push us off into the abyss of sin. Temptations inviting us to get closer and closer to the edge. The world wants us to be like them, to not be different. Don't be different. Don't preach to me. Don't be chaste or moderate. Don't follow your Catholic faith. You be like we say you should be. Don't try and be different. Who do you think you are? You do what we tell you to. When we feel that pressure and hear those voices, we can't forget that the Spirit of God is still upon us, and that the Father's will must be done. Jesus remembered that, even when he was standing on the edge. So he turned around and faced the mob, and everyone got quiet. He put his hand forward. He looked past the mob and walked right through their midst, unharmed. As Catholics in today's world, when we are pushed to the edge of sin, we need to remember that God dwells in us, that he has a plan for us, and that will give us the strength to turn around, look past the world, and walk right through it unharmed.